Hey there, and welcome back to the Simple AI Guide, where we take the complicated world of artificial intelligence and explain it in plain English. My name is Hope. Today we are discussing something that you need to know about AI safety and privacy, and specifically what every single person using AI tools in 2026 needs to know to protect themselves. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking safety and privacy. That sounds like something for the IT department, right? That sounds like something for tech people with computer science degrees and fancy certifications. But here's the thing. If you have ever typed a message into ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or any AI assistant at all, this topic is already relevant to you. Personally relevant. And the good news is that the basics are not hard to learn. In fact, if you give me about 20 minutes today, you will know more about AI safety and privacy than most people who use these tools every day. Let me start with a number that I want you to hold on to throughout this episode. 1 in 6. That is the fraction of data breaches in 2026 that now involve an AI-driven attack. Not AI as the victim, AI as the weapon, or at least as the door that was left open. And separately, 68% of organizations, more than 2 out of 3, have already experienced data leaks tied directly to how their employees use AI tools. These are not fringe statistics. These are mainstream numbers describing mainstream problems happening right now. So, today we are going to cover everything that matters. We will talk about what happens to your data when you type something into an AI chatbot. We will go through the specific things you should never, ever share with an AI tool. We will talk about how to evaluate whether a tool is trustworthy. We will get into AI hallucinations, because inaccuracy is a safety issue, not just an inconvenience. We will talk about protecting kids and older adults. We will go through simple daily habits that take almost no effort but make a big difference. And we will look at the new laws, especially the EU AI Act, that are reshaping your rights as an AI user right now. Let us get into it. The first thing to understand is what happens on the other end of the screen when you type a message into an AI chatbot. Most people have a vague sense that something is happening somewhere, but they are not sure exactly what. So let me walk you through it clearly. When you type a message into any AI chatbot, that text leaves your device and travels to a remote server, a computer, or more accurately, a massive data center that belongs to the company running that AI. The AI model processes your message there, generates a response, and sends it back. So far, that part makes sense. But here's where it gets important. In most cases, that conversation is also stored. It does not just disappear when you close the browser tab. 3 things happen with nearly every AI conversation. First, your input is transmitted. That is called data in transit. Second, it is processed on the provider's servers. That is called data at rest. And third, it is potentially retained for weeks, months, or even longer, depending on the platform's specific policy. And on many free-tier AI services, the company actually reserves the right to use your conversations to help improve their AI models, which means, in some cases, a human reviewer employed by that company might read what you typed. I want to let that sink in for a second. A human might read what you typed. Not necessarily, and not often, but it is possible, and it is allowed under the terms most people click through without reading. Now, paid accounts and enterprise accounts often offer much stronger protections. We are talking about opt-out options from training, shorter data retention windows, contractual guarantees. But the free tier, which is where most casual users live, the rules are different. So here are the key questions you should be asking about any AI tool you use. Does it train on my conversations by default? Can I turn that off? How long is my data retained? Who can access it? Does it share data with third parties? The major providers, OpenAI, which makes ChatGPT, Anthropic, which makes Claude, and Google, which makes Gemini, all publish privacy policies that answer these questions. But those policies can be long and technical. Later in this episode, I will tell you exactly which sections matter and what to look for. All right, so now that you understand what happens to your data, let's talk about the single most important principle for safe AI use in 2026. And this is something I want you to genuinely internalize, not just hear once and forget. Treat every AI conversation as if a stranger might read it. That is not paranoia. That is an accurate description of how many free AI tools actually work. And once you have that principle in your mind, a lot of the specific rules I'm about to share will make immediate, obvious sense. Here's the list of things you should never share in an AI conversation. I want to go through these one by one because each one matters. social security numbers, passport numbers, and other government ID numbers. These are the keys to your identity. There is no legitimate reason an AI chatbot needs your social security number. None. Bank account numbers, credit card details, and financial passwords. Again, no AI conversation requires this information. If any AI tool ever seems to be asking for these, that is a red flag, and you should stop. Medical diagnoses, prescriptions, and insurance information. This one surprises some people, but your medical information is among the most sensitive data you have. It has implications for insurance, employment, and your personal life. Keep it out of AI chatbots, your home address, your daily schedule, or any combination of location data with your name. Individually, these might seem harmless. Combined, they paint a picture that you do not want out there. Proprietary business information, unreleased product plans, or client data. This one is especially important for small business owners. If you are using a free consumer AI tool to help you draft a proposal or strategize about a client, and that client's information ends up in the conversation, that is a potential breach. It could violate your contracts. It could expose you to liability. And finally, other people's personal information without their consent. Just because it is not your information does not mean it is okay to share it. Here's the stat that reinforces all of this. A 2026 report found that 40% of organizations have already experienced an AI-related privacy breach. 40%. And that number climbs every year as AI adoption increases. Individual users face the same risks when they overshare in free chatbot sessions. Now I want to spend a moment on professional context, because this is an area where people make costly mistakes without realizing it. Many companies now have explicit AI usage policies. Policies that spell out what employees can and cannot do with AI tools on company time or using company information. If you use a consumer AI tool for work tasks involving client data, trade secrets, or confidential financials, you could be violating your employment agreement. You could be exposing information that your employer or your clients have a legal right to protect. When in doubt, use enterprise-grade tools that come with contractual data protections, or get explicit permission from your employer before using any AI tool with sensitive work information. Let us shift gears now and talk about how to evaluate whether an AI tool is actually trustworthy and safe to use. Because not all AI tools are created equal. There is a huge range out there, from the well-known major platforms to smaller apps you might find in an app store or on a website, and the privacy protections vary enormously. Here's a practical checklist. Go through these questions before you start using any AI tool on a regular basis. First, can you opt out of having your conversations used for training? ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini all offer this option. Look in your settings under something like data controls or privacy. If a tool does not offer this option at all, that is something to know going in. Second, how long does the company keep your data? Shorter retention is better for your privacy. Enterprise plans typically offer very short retention windows, sometimes 0 days. Consumer plans often retain data for much longer. Third, does the company sell or share your data with advertisers or partners? This should be in the privacy policy under a section about data sharing. If the answer is yes, your conversations may be more widely accessible than you think. Fourth, can employees at the company read your conversations? Most major providers say yes, under limited circumstances, for safety, for quality review. Enterprise accounts often specifically exclude this. It is worth knowing which category you are in. Fifth, is your data encrypted both in transit and at rest? This should be a baseline expectation for any reputable AI service, but it is worth confirming. And sixth, what is this company's security track record? A quick web search for the company name plus data breach will tell you a lot. If a company has had multiple breaches and responded poorly, that is useful information. The major players, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, have published detailed privacy policies and offer opt-out options. Smaller or newer tools may not. And here's an important nuance. Many apps you encounter are not building their own AI from scratch. They are built on top of one of the major models. Those apps may have their own separate data practices that are different from the underlying model's privacy policy. So always read the privacy policy of the specific app you are using, not just the AI it is powered by. Now I want to talk about something that is a little different from the privacy angle, but equally important when we talk about AI safety, and that is the issue of accuracy. Specifically, AI hallucinations. An AI hallucination is when an AI model generates false information and presents it confidently as if it were completely true. Not, I am not sure about this. Not, you might want to verify this. Just a wrong fact stated with full confidence, a fake academic citation that looks completely real. An incorrect statistic, a fake quote attributed to a real person, a wrong date or wrong name in a historical account, legal or medical information that sounds authoritative but is simply wrong. Here is where the numbers are in 2026. The best performing AI models hallucinate on factual queries somewhere in the range of 3 to 6% of the time on standard benchmarks. That sounds small, but think about what it means in practice. If you ask an AI tool 100 questions and trust every answer, somewhere between 3 and 6 of those answers may be wrong. And on complex tasks, clinical medicine, legal analysis, anything requiring citations, the error rates go higher. Some models show error rates well above 10% on clinical benchmarks. The good news is that hallucination rates have dropped dramatically over the years. Back in 2021, the error rate was around 20% for many tasks. The best models today have reduced that to well under 1% for simple, grounded tasks. But it has not been eliminated, and the errors that remain tend to cluster in the areas where being wrong matters most: medical information, legal guidance, financial advice. The practical rule is simple: verify anything important. Use AI as a starting point for research, not a final authority. For medical, legal, or financial decisions, always confirm what you have been told with a qualified professional or a primary authoritative source. There is another dimension to AI safety and accuracy that I want to address, and that is the rise of deepfakes and AI-generated misinformation. In 2026, AI can generate highly realistic fake images, audio, and video. We are not talking about obvious computer-generated content anymore. We are talking about video that looks like someone you know, audio that sounds exactly like a family member's voice, images that appear completely real. Be skeptical of urgent or alarming content, especially audio or video clips, that arrives through social media or messaging apps. If someone appears to be asking for money or personal information through what seems like a video call or voicemail, verify through a completely separate channel before you do anything. Call them back on a number you already have. Text a family member to confirm. The urgency you feel is often part of the manipulation. Slow down. I also want to take a moment to talk specifically about protecting children and older adults when it comes to AI, because both groups deserve some focused attention here. For children, most mainstream AI services require users to be at least 13 years old, and some set the minimum at 18. These age restrictions exist because children have specific legal protections under privacy laws like COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, in the United States. They also exist because AI outputs can sometimes be inappropriate for young audiences. Rather than simply forbidding young people from using AI, which, let us be honest, is not always realistic, a better approach is to engage with them about it. Explore AI tools together. Discuss what information should never be shared. Review conversation histories occasionally. Talk about AI limitations, including hallucinations, and the important fact that the AI does not actually know your child personally, even if it seems warm and friendly. The EU AI Act specifically prohibits AI practices that exploit vulnerable users, including children. We will talk more about that law in a moment. For older adults who are newer to AI, the same core principles apply. Start with reputable, well-known tools. Use privacy settings to opt out of training. And regardless of what any AI tool seems to ask for, never share financial information or identity information in an AI chat window. Let me now walk you through 7 daily habits that will cover the most important ground for safe AI use. And none of these require a technical background or significant effort. Habit 1. Opt out of training data collection. Here's how to do it on the major platforms. In ChatGPT, go to Settings, then Data Controls, and turn off the option that says Improve the model for everyone. In Claude, go to Settings, then Privacy. In Gemini, go to Gemini Apps Activity and turn it off. This takes about 60 seconds, and it is one of the highest impact things you can do. Habit 2. Use a dedicated email address for AI tool signups. Not your primary personal email, not your work email. Create a separate address specifically for signing up for AI services. This limits the data trail connected to your main identity. Habit 3. Enable two-factor authentication on all your AI accounts. Here is why this matters. If someone gains unauthorized access to your AI account, they can read your entire conversation history, all of it. Two-factor authentication is a straightforward layer of protection against that. Habit 4. Review and delete your conversations regularly. All the major AI tools allow you to delete individual conversations or your entire history. Make a habit of doing this at least once a month. The less conversation history sitting on a company's server, the less there is to be exposed in the event of a breach. Habit 5. Verify important information before acting on it. If an AI tells you something that you plan to use for a real decision, a medical question, a legal question, a financial decision, anything with stakes, confirm it from at least one authoritative external source first. Habit 6. Be skeptical of AI-generated media. If a voice, video, or image arrives unexpectedly and carries a sense of urgency, verify it through a separate channel before you respond, share it, or act on it. Habit 7. Read the privacy policy of any AI tool you use regularly. Specifically, look for 3 sections. Data training. Does the company train on your conversations? Data retention. How long do they keep your data? And third-party sharing. Who else does your data go to? Those 3 sections contain the most important information for your privacy. 7 habits. None of them complicated, all of them meaningful. Now let us talk about the business side, because if you are a small business owner or you manage people who use AI at work, there are some additional considerations that are really important. Consumer AI tools are generally not appropriate for tasks involving client data, confidential business strategy, employee information, or proprietary intellectual property. The terms of service for most consumer AI tools make this fairly clear, even if users often skip that part. The major AI providers all offer business and enterprise tiers specifically designed for professional use. ChatGPT Enterprise, Claude for Work, and Google Workspace's Gemini integration all provide contractual data protections that consumer plans simply do not include. The key protections to look for include a contractual agreement that your data will not be used for model training, zero-day or very short data retention options. Look for SOC 2, Type 2 compliance, which is a standard security certification. For healthcare-related work, look for HIPAA Business Associate Agreements. You will need access controls that let administrators manage how employees are using AI tools within the organization. If your organization does not yet have an AI usage policy, 2026 is the year to create one. With 1 in 6 data breaches now linked to AI-driven attacks and regulators actively scrutinizing AI data practices in the US, the EU, and beyond, the risk of unmanaged AI use in the workplace has genuinely never been higher. Let me now spend a few minutes on the regulatory landscape, because there are real laws taking effect right now that give you new rights as an AI user. The most significant is the EU AI Act. This is the most comprehensive AI regulation in the world, and it reaches its main enforcement date on August 2nd, 2026, which at the time of this recording is coming up very soon. Here is what it does in plain English. First, it outright bans certain high-risk AI practices. Social scoring, using AI to rate people based on their behavior. Subliminal manipulation, using AI to influence people's decisions in ways they cannot detect. Real-time biometric identification in public spaces. These are banned entirely for most purposes. Second, it requires transparency about AI-generated content. AI chatbots must now disclose that you are talking to an AI. AI-generated content must be labeled as such. This is a meaningful shift. You have a right to know when you are interacting with a machine versus a human. Third, the penalties are serious. Companies that violate the AI Act can face fines up to 35 million euros, or 7% of their global annual revenue, whichever is higher. That is a number large enough to get attention even at the biggest tech companies. A provisional agreement reached in May 2026 extended some deadlines for high-risk AI systems, but the core prohibitions and the chatbot transparency requirements remain on schedule for August. In the United States, there is not yet a single federal AI privacy law, but states are moving quickly. California, Colorado, Texas, and others have already enacted or are actively advancing AI-specific regulations covering automated decision-making, bias audits, and consumer transparency rights. More state laws are expected through 2026 and 2027. And here's a global number that puts it all in context. As of early 2026, 137 countries now have data protection legislation in force. That is up from just 40 countries in the year 2000. The world is converging on stronger privacy expectations, and that trend is not going to reverse. Let me bring this all together with a practical checklist you can use to audit your current AI habits or evaluate any new AI tool you're considering. I will go through it quickly. You can find the full written version in our guide at ai4everyone.ai. Have you opted out of training data collection in your AI settings? Do you avoid sharing social security numbers, passwords, bank details, or medical records in AI conversations? Do you have two-factor authentication enabled on your AI accounts? Do you verify important AI-generated information from an authoritative source before acting on it? Do you delete your conversation histories at least monthly? If you use AI at work, are you using enterprise tools for tasks involving confidential data? Do you know how to report AI-generated misinformation or deepfake fraud to the appropriate platform? And have you read the privacy policy of the AI tools you use most? 8 questions. If you can answer yes to all 8, you are ahead of the vast majority of AI users out there today. Before I wrap up, I want to make sure we have addressed the questions that come up most often about AI safety and privacy. The first one is it actually safe to use AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude for everyday tasks? And the answer is yes, for general, non-sensitive tasks. Drafting an email, brainstorming ideas, learning a new topic, summarizing an article. The major AI tools are safe for that kind of everyday use. The key is knowing what not to share: financial data, government IDs, medical records, and confidential work information. Stick to reputable providers, opt out of training data collection, and you will be in good shape for everyday use. The second question: can AI companies actually read my conversations? Technically, yes. Most AI providers employ human reviewers who may occasionally read conversations for safety, for quality review, or for model improvement purposes. On free consumer plans, this is a real possibility. Paid plans and enterprise accounts often provide stronger guarantees, contractual commitments that your data will not be reviewed or used for training. To minimize risk, opt out of training in your settings. Do not share anything you would be uncomfortable having a stranger read, and consider a paid plan if privacy is important to your use case. Third, what exactly is an AI hallucination, and why does it matter for safety? An AI hallucination is when a model generates false information, a fake citation, a wrong statistic, an invented fact, and presents it confidently as though it were true. It matters for safety because you might act on that wrong information in a medical, legal, or financial context. Even in 2026, with all the improvements that have been made, the best models still hallucinate on complex factual tasks. Always verify important information from an authoritative source before making decisions based on it. Fourth, what does the EU AI Act mean for everyday users? For most people, the most visible effects are these. AI chatbots must now disclose that you are talking to an AI. AI-generated content must be labeled. And certain harmful AI practices, social scoring, biometric surveillance in public spaces, exploitation of vulnerable users, are outright banned. If you are in the EU or using EU-based services, you now have stronger rights around AI transparency and safety. And fifth, how do you protect yourself from AI-generated deepfakes and scams? The best defenses are relatively simple, but require some intentional setup. Establish a family-safe word, a word or phrase that only real people in your family would know, and use it to verify urgent requests that come through phone or video. Be especially skeptical of any unexpected request for money, gift cards, or personal information that arrives via video call, voicemail, or audio message. If something feels wrong, hang up. Call the person back on a number you already have stored. The urgency is often manufactured, and slowing down is your best defense. Here's what I want you to take away from today's episode. AI tools are genuinely powerful and genuinely useful. They are going to be part of everyday life for a very long time. But using them safely requires a small amount of intentional awareness. Awareness of what happens to your data, what you should and should not share, how to evaluate the tools you use, and how to think critically about the information AI gives you. None of that awareness is hard to develop. And now that you have spent 20 minutes with me today, you have it. If you found this podcast useful, give us a like and follow us. Leave us your comments. If you want the full written guide, head over to ai4everyone.ai. The link will be in the show notes. And while you are there, subscribe to our free newsletter. Every week we cover one AI topic in plain English. No jargon, no hype. Just practical stuff you can actually use. This episode was written by humans and AI. It was read by an AI voice, Thanks for listening to the Simple AI Guide. Join me for the next episode.